The champagne glasses sparkled under the chandelier's golden glow, and the aroma of freshly cut roses filled the dining room. Kevin Walker stood back, adjusting the silverware meticulously, each piece precisely placed, just like everything else in his life. Tonight was special, 10 years since he'd married Maya Carter, the vibrant, outgoing woman who had swept into his quiet life like a hurricane of laughter and joy. Kevin smiled faintly, picturing Maya's bright eyes and infectious smile. She had always brought a sense of adventure to their life, pushing him gently out of his comfort zone. He checked his watch again. Maya was late, not unusual, given her busy career in the fashion industry. But tonight, something felt off. His phone buzzed softly from the marble countertop, a notification lighting up the screen. Kevin glanced down, heart pausing momentarily when he saw the message. "Can't stop thinking about our last session. When can I see you again, D?" Kevin frowned. Session? D? A flicker of unease twisted in his gut. Maya often spoke of her yoga instructor Derek, praising his holistic approach and the calming effects of his private sessions. Kevin had brushed it off as typical Maya enthusiasm, never imagining more. He heard the door open, and Maya breezed in, a burst of jasmine perfume following her. "Hey, sweetheart," she said brightly, tossing her purse onto the chair. "I'm so sorry I'm late. Last-minute meeting ran over." Kevin forced a smile, his eyes lingering briefly on her radiant expression. "No worries," he replied softly, stepping forward to kiss her cheek. Maya turned slightly, their lips brushing awkwardly. "Everything all right?" she asked, sensing his tension. "Yeah, just hungry," he lied, pushing down his suspicions. "Dinner's ready." They ate quietly at first, the silence unusual between them. Kevin finally cleared his throat, eyes fixed firmly on his plate. "So, how was your day?" Maya hesitated briefly, a flicker of something unreadable crossing her face. "It was good. Busy as usual. The collection is coming along well. Derek even helped me relax during our yoga session." Kevin stiffened at the mention of Derek's name, gripping his fork tighter. Maya noticed instantly, her smile faltering. "Kevin?" He sighed deeply, setting his fork down gently. "Who exactly is Derek to you, Maya?" She blinked, confusion evident. "My yoga instructor. You know that. Why?" Kevin slowly reached for his phone, sliding it across the table toward her. Maya's eyes widened slightly as she read the message. She opened her mouth, then closed it, looking away briefly. "Kevin, it's not what you think." "Then what is it?" His voice remained calm, a stark contrast to the storm brewing beneath. Maya leaned back, crossing her arms protectively. "Derek and we've been talking a lot lately, about life, happiness, fulfillment. He understands things about me, things I feel I can't share with anyone else." Kevin felt a painful pang in his chest. "You can't share them with me? Your husband?" Her eyes softened with guilt. "It's complicated, Kevin. You're my best friend, my partner, but lately I've felt trapped." "Trapped?" he echoed, disbelief coloring his tone. "Maya, we've built a life, a family. How are you trapped?" Maya looked away, gathering her thoughts. "I love our life, but sometimes it feels predictable, safe. Derek offered me excitement, something new." Kevin's voice tightened. "Are you sleeping with him?" The silence stretched painfully until Maya quietly admitted, "Yes." Kevin felt his world tilt dangerously. He'd never imagined facing this scenario. Anger surged through him, but he managed to contain it, maintaining his calm facade. "Is it serious? Do you love him?" She shook her head quickly. It's not love. It's a release, a different type of connection. I didn't want you to find out this way." Kevin's fists clenched beneath the table. "And how long did you plan on hiding this?" Maya sighed, looking sincerely troubled. "I wanted to talk to you tonight. Not about ending us, but about opening up our marriage." Kevin recoiled as if struck. "Open marriage? Seriously, Maya?" She leaned forward earnestly. "Kevin, I don't want to lose what we have. I love you, our girls, our life. But I need more freedom. I think we both could benefit from exploring connections outside our marriage. It could strengthen our bond." Kevin stared at her in disbelief. Strengthen our bond by sleeping with other people. Maya winced slightly. When you say it like that, how else should I say it? Kevin's voice rose sharply, frustration finally breaking through. You're asking me to be okay with you cheating openly. She reached for his hand across the table, but he pulled away, hurt evident in his eyes. Maya's shoulders slumped. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Kevin stood abruptly, pushing away from the table. But you did, Maya. Tonight was supposed to celebrate us, our commitment. Instead, I'm faced with the reality that my wife wants to date other people. Maya stood, desperation clear in her voice. Kevin, please, let's just talk. I need some air, he interrupted sharply, grabbing his coat. He paused at the door, glancing back at her, sadness etched deeply into his features. I never thought our marriage would become a negotiation, Maya. He closed the door softly behind him, stepping into the crisp night air, his mind racing, heart pounding painfully. Everything he had believed solid now felt cracked wide open, a chasm of uncertainty threatening to swallow him whole. As Kevin walked aimlessly into the night, he wondered bitterly how one text message could unravel 10 years of what he'd thought was perfection. The city lights blurred softly through the car window as Kevin drove aimlessly, his thoughts a turbulent mess. He replayed the evening repeatedly in his mind, each word Maya had spoken piercing deeper into his already wounded heart. Open marriage. It seemed utterly inconceivable, something he never imagined confronting. After an hour of driving in circles, Kevin parked near a quiet riverside, the gentle lapping of water echoing his troubled thoughts. He stared into the dark, trying desperately to make sense of it all. 10 years of marriage built on trust, respect, and companionship had shattered with a single confession. He wondered bitterly if Maya truly understood the gravity of her proposal, or if her desire for excitement blinded her entirely. Eventually, fatigue overtook his swirling emotions, and Kevin returned home to find the house silent. He quietly entered their bedroom, noting with relief that Maya was already asleep. Silently slipping beneath the covers, he stared at the ceiling, listening to her breathing, the familiar sound now feeling foreign and distant. The next morning, Kevin rose before sunrise, preparing breakfast robotically. The comforting routine felt surreal given the circumstances. Maya walked in hesitantly, her expression guarded. Morning, she murmured softly, pouring herself a coffee. Morning, Kevin replied stiffly, eyes fixed on the skillet. They ate in uncomfortable silence until Maya finally broke it. Kevin, about last night. He held up a hand, signaling her to stop. I thought about it. Let's just talk openly, but rationally. I owe it to our marriage to at least hear your perspective. Maya visibly relaxed, grateful he was open to conversation. Thank you. I know it's hard to accept. Kevin leaned back, taking a steadying breath. Tell me honestly, Maya. Why do you think an open marriage would help us? She hesitated, gathering her thoughts carefully. We've become predictable, Kevin. Every day feels scripted comfortable, yes, but also stifling. You know how much I love our family, but there's a part of me that craves adventure, novelty. Being with Derek showed me how different things could feel. Not better, just different. Kevin frowned deeply. But why can't we find that together? Why bring other people into our marriage? It's not about replacing us, Maya insisted earnestly. It's about growth, exploring different aspects of ourselves. Maybe it could even help us reconnect. Kevin shook his head slowly. And what if it doesn't? What if it just tears us apart further? She paused, clearly having considered this as well. I don't know. But isn't it worth trying to save our marriage by adapting rather than losing each other entirely? Kevin exhaled sharply, the risk weighing heavily on him. What about Emily and Lily? How would this affect them? Have you thought about our children at all? Maya winced, guilt crossing her face. Of course I have. I love them more than anything. I truly believe if we're happier individually, we'll be stronger parents. They deserve parents who aren't miserable. Kevin studied her closely, seeing her genuine belief yet doubting the logic. You're certain this is what you want? To risk our entire marriage for a chance at happiness outside of it? She nodded softly. I'm not certain, Kevin, But I know I can't keep living this way, feeling trapped. I hoped you'd consider it, maybe even try exploring connections yourself. It doesn't have to mean we love each other any less." Kevin felt numb, the weight of her words pressing heavily upon him. "I'll think about it, but no promises, Maya. This is a lot to process." She nodded understandingly, tears forming. "Thank you for at least trying." Kevin stood, clearing his plate, heart heavy. As he walked away, he realized bitterly that nothing would ever be the same again, regardless of his decision. Their marriage had irrevocably changed, and he had no idea what lay ahead. The sleek, polished conference room at the law office felt colder than usual, amplifying Kevin's anxiety as he waited to meet his lawyer. The stark, professional surroundings did little to calm his frayed nerves. Kevin had always hated the sterile environment of legal offices. Today was no different. The door clicked open, and Angela Morrison entered, her confident stride and no-nonsense demeanor immediately commanding attention. Angela was renowned for her fierce advocacy in family law, exactly the reputation Kevin needed now. "Kevin," Angela greeted warmly, extending her hand. "I'm sorry we have to meet under these circumstances." He managed a tight smile, shaking her hand firmly. "Thanks for seeing me on such short notice, Angela." She motioned for him to sit and took her place across the table, opening her leather-bound notebook. "Tell me everything. From the beginning." Kevin exhaled deeply, recounting the previous night's events and Maya's unexpected request for an open marriage. Angela listened intently, jotting down notes without interrupting. When he finished, she leaned back thoughtfully, tapping her pen lightly against the pad. "Open marriage, huh? That's becoming increasingly common these days," Angela remarked, her voice neutral but contemplative. Kevin blinked in surprise. "Seriously? People actually do this?" "More than you'd think," Angela confirmed. "But let's talk practically. I assume you're here because you're considering divorce options?" Kevin hesitated, feeling the weight of the moment. "Honestly, Angela, I don't want a divorce, but I need to understand my options. This isn't something I ever anticipated, and I need to know where I stand, legally, financially, and especially with the girls." Angela nodded seriously. "Absolutely. Here's the tough reality, Kevin. In most cases, courts tend to favor mothers when it comes to custody arrangements, especially in states with no-fault divorce laws. Unless we can prove Maya is unfit or poses a significant risk, she'll likely maintain primary custody." Kevin's stomach twisted painfully. "So, you're saying I could lose my daughters?" "Not entirely," Angela reassured him. "But typically, fathers end up with limited visitation. Usually 1 weekend every 2 weeks, some holidays, and a portion of the summer. It's far from ideal, but that's the standard scenario, unless you can provide substantial evidence to change the court's perspective." Kevin shook his head, his throat dry. "This feels completely unfair. She's the one who wants to jeopardize our marriage, yet she gets the advantage?" Angela leaned forward sympathetically. "I know it feels unjust, Kevin, and at Island. But the court doesn't see personal betrayal as relevant in custody disputes. Their priority is always the children's stability and continuity." He rubbed his temples. Frustration and helplessness washing over him. "What about the house? Finances?" "You'll likely lose half of your shared assets, possibly more," Angela replied frankly. "Maya could easily retain the family home, especially since she's been the primary caretaker due to your demanding job. You'd probably have to pay child support and maybe even alimony, depending on the income disparity." Kevin exhaled sharply, disbelief written plainly across his face. "So, essentially, I'd be funding Maya's life with whoever she decides to bring into it?" Angela's expression softened. "I'm afraid that's the reality, Kevin. Courts rarely punish infidelity or similar personal choices in financial or custody decisions anymore." Kevin stared at the polished tabletop, his mind reeling with despair. "Is there anything I can do? Any alternative?" Angela hesitated briefly, her gaze careful. "There's always the unofficial approach. Some clients choose to tolerate the situation temporarily, at least outwardly, while carefully documenting everything. If you can demonstrate that Maya's new lifestyle negatively impacts the children's well-being or safety, we might have a stronger argument later. Kevin absorbed her words slowly. So, basically, endure it for now and build a case quietly? Angela nodded. Exactly. It's not easy, Kevin. It's emotionally draining and requires immense patience. But if your priority is securing custody and protecting your daughters, it could be your best strategy. Kevin stood, his heart heavy, yet his resolve strengthening slightly. Then that's what I'll do. I refuse to lose my girls, or let Maya's choices dictate my future. Angela stood as well, offering a comforting smile. Good. Document everything meticulously: texts, emails, schedules, behaviors. It'll be tedious, but essential. Remember, I'm here whenever you need me. Thank you, Angela, Kevin said sincerely. He left the office, feeling drained yet determined, knowing he had a long, difficult path ahead. Whatever happened next, he would fight fiercely for his daughters and reclaim control over his shattered life. Days blurred into weeks as Kevin adjusted reluctantly to the uncomfortable new reality of his marriage. Conversations with Maya had become brief and transactional, limited mostly to arrangements concerning their daughters or household chores. A strained politeness replaced the warmth and intimacy that once defined their interactions. One Friday evening, as Kevin prepared dinner, he heard Maya entering through the garage, her keys jingling loudly, a sound that once symbolized her joyful return home but now signified something far more complicated. She walked into the kitchen, hesitating momentarily. "Smells good," Maya commented softly, placing her purse on the counter. Kevin glanced at her briefly. "It's pasta, the girl's favorite." She nodded quietly, visibly uncomfortable yet determined. "Can we talk after dinner? The girls will be busy with homework." He sighed inwardly, nodding stiffly. "Fine. After dinner." Their meal passed with forced cheerfulness for the sake of Emily and Lily, their lively chatter contrasting starkly with the underlying tension between their parents. After dishes were cleared and the girls retreated to their rooms, Kevin followed Maya to the living room, a sense of dread pooling in his stomach. Maya settled on the sofa, her posture cautious, her eyes filled with apprehension. "Kevin, we can't keep going like this. We need clearer boundaries if we're going to make this work." He regarded her warily, leaning back in the armchair opposite her. "Boundaries? Like rules for your open marriage arrangement?" She flinched at the harshness in his voice. "Yes, if we're doing this, we need honesty and clarity. Rules we both respect to protect our family and our sanity." Kevin exhaled sharply, bitterness edging his voice. "Fine. What boundaries do you propose?" Maya shifted nervously. "Complete transparency for starters. No secrets about who we see or when. No bringing anyone home. And never involving the girls in any way." Kevin nodded curtly. "Agreed. Anything else?" She hesitated. "Maybe we should schedule regular family time, just us and the girls, to maintain normalcy. We need to show them we're still united parents, no matter what." Kevin sighed deeply, feeling an ache in his chest. "All right. And personal safety precautions?" Maya looked surprised, yet relieved. "Yes, definitely. Regular health checkups, always using protection. No risky behavior." "Fine," Kevin agreed tersely. "But understand this clearly, Maya. I'm agreeing because I have no other viable option right now, not because I approve or accept this arrangement." Her eyes softened with sadness. "I know, Kevin, and I'm deeply sorry for hurting you. I just hope this gives us a chance to find our way back eventually." Kevin shook his head bitterly. "Don't hold your breath, Maya. Trust, once broken, isn't easily rebuilt." She looked away, tears filling her eyes. "I understand. But at least we're talking, setting boundaries. That's progress." Kevin rose, feeling emotionally drained. Progress would have been working through our problems together, not seeking solutions outside our marriage. But we're past that now. Let's just focus on minimizing the damage. Maya nodded silently, her face a mixture of regret and resignation. Kevin walked away, each step heavy with the awareness that these new boundaries weren't just rules. They represented the stark emotional distance now defining their fractured marriage. Weeks turned into months, and Kevin gradually adapted to the new normal, if such a situation could ever truly feel normal. His emotional turmoil simmered quietly beneath a composed exterior, but internally he sought escape and clarity. Determined to channel his frustration constructively, Kevin began waking early each morning to run. The first days were brutal, muscles screaming, lungs burning with every breath, but soon running became a cherished ritual. It provided him solitude and a much-needed release from the tension at home. Over time, he began enjoying the tranquility of dawn, the rhythmic pounding of his feet against pavement, and the clarity it brought to his thoughts. With each mile logged, Kevin noticed changes within himself. Physically, he felt stronger and healthier, losing weight he hadn't realized he'd gained. Mentally, the early mornings offered a quiet space to sort through complex emotions and decisions about his future. One crisp autumn morning, after an invigorating 6-mile run, Kevin passed by a camping and RV expo near the city outskirts. Intrigued and seeking distraction, he decided to stop and explore. Rows of gleaming RVs and camping trailers stretched across the expo grounds, each vehicle promising adventure and freedom. Emily and Lily would love this, he thought wistfully, imagining family trips and shared laughter around a campfire. With a sudden resolve, he knew what he needed, a tangible way to reconnect with his daughters, to create meaningful memories independent of the turmoil at home. Kevin spent hours exploring different models, eventually settling on a gently used Grand Design RV. It featured comfortable bunk beds for the girls, a spacious master suite, and all the amenities they needed for memorable weekend getaways. Feeling invigorated by this newfound purpose, he also purchased a sturdy GMC pickup truck, perfect for towing their new family escape vehicle. That evening, Kevin returned home energized and optimistic. When he shared the news with Emily and Lily, their eyes sparkled with excitement and wonder. Maya, however, observed from a distance, a mix of curiosity and discomfort evident in her expression. "Camping, Kevin?" Maya asked cautiously, waiting until the girls raced off excitedly to plan their first trip. "Since when do you like camping?" Kevin met her gaze evenly. "Since I realized our daughters need stability and memories they can cherish, despite everything else happening." Maya flinched slightly, understanding his unspoken implication. "You think I'm neglecting them?" Kevin shook his head slowly. "No, Maya. I'm just ensuring they have good experiences, regardless of the chaos we've created." Her eyes filled briefly with sadness, and she nodded, recognizing the underlying truth. "Okay. If that's important to you, then I support it." The sincerity in her voice surprised Kevin, easing some of the residual bitterness he carried. "Thank you," he replied quietly. Over the following weeks, Kevin meticulously planned their inaugural camping trip, carefully selecting a picturesque state park known for hiking trails, starry skies, and scenic waterfalls. Emily and Lily eagerly counted down the days, their enthusiasm contagious and heartwarming. Finally, the weekend arrived. Kevin loaded supplies into the RV, excitement bubbling inside him. As they drove away from their home, he glanced in the rearview mirror at his daughter's smiling faces, feeling a warmth he hadn't experienced in months. The weekend proved transformative. They hiked along lush trails, splashed joyfully beneath crystal-clear waterfalls, roasted marshmallows under a starlit sky, and laughed until their sides hurt. As Kevin watched his daughters, he realized something vital. He wasn't just reconnecting with Emily and Lily. He was rediscovering himself. On their final night, sitting quietly by the campfire, Emily leaned into him, whispering sleepily, "This was the best weekend ever, Dad." Kevin smiled softly, hugging her tightly. "Yes, sweetheart, it truly was." Driving home the next day, Kevin felt renewed determination. No matter what lay ahead in his marriage, he would continue to build meaningful moments for his daughters and himself. The RV wasn't merely a vehicle. It symbolized freedom, hope, and the beginning of Kevin reclaiming control over his own happiness and future. The fresh excitement from the camping trip lingered with Kevin and his daughters for weeks. Their new adventures became the bright spots in a season otherwise marred by tension at home. Yet as autumn slipped toward winter, Kevin found himself craving understanding, someone to confide in who wasn't involved in the tangled web of his family life. One Saturday, while dropping Lily off at a friend's birthday party, Kevin noticed a flyer posted on the community center bulletin board: Workshop for Parents Facing Family Change, Coping, Communication, and Renewal. He hesitated. Admitting he needed support was difficult, but the idea of honest conversation without judgment felt like a lifeline. He made a silent decision and signed up for the following weekend. The workshop room was bright and welcoming, with soft music playing and a circle of chairs set up near the windows. A few other parents shuffled in, exchanging awkward but empathetic glances. Kevin chose a seat near the window, gazing out at the trees, quietly rehearsing what he might say. The facilitator, a woman in her late 30s with clear, calm eyes and an approachable warmth, introduced herself as Sarah Mitchell. She spoke not as an authority, but as a fellow traveler who had faced heartbreak and reinvention. Her presence was grounding, and Kevin found himself unexpectedly at ease. As the workshop progressed, Kevin shared his story, haltingly at first, then with more candor than he'd shown anyone besides his lawyer. Sarah listened intently, occasionally asking gentle questions that cut through to the heart of his struggles. What do you most fear losing, Kevin? What do you wish you could say without being interrupted or judged? After the session, Sarah approached him as the room emptied. You have a way of carrying so much on your own shoulders. It's admirable, but it must be exhausting. Kevin offered a wan smile. I guess I'm still learning how to ask for help. She laughed softly. Most of us are. Their conversation meandered from family to personal dreams. Sarah revealed she was a clinical psychologist who had gone through a painful divorce herself, now raising her daughter Mia on her own. The honesty in her voice resonated with Kevin. He realized he wasn't alone in facing hard choices. Before leaving, Sarah handed him her card. If you ever want to talk about anything at all, just call. Sometimes it helps to have someone who's been through the fire. Kevin slipped her card into his wallet, feeling an unexpected lightness. Over the next weeks, they exchanged messages, at first about the workshop, then about their children, favorite books, and even running routes around the city. Kevin learned that Mia, Sarah's daughter, was nearly Lily's age, and they bonded over the shared chaos of parenting. Eventually, Sarah invited Kevin and his girls to join her and Mia for a Saturday at the city's botanical gardens. The outing was simple: picnics, laughter, children racing through flower beds, but for Kevin, it felt profound. He saw his daughter smiling with genuine joy and felt a warmth in Sarah's company that he'd nearly forgotten was possible. As the sun dipped low, painting everything in gold, Sarah turned to him. You're allowed to find happiness again, you know, she said gently, even if the shape of your life has changed. Kevin nodded, gratitude welling in his chest. The wounds from his marriage were still raw, but here, amid laughter and sunlight, he realized new beginnings were possible. He wasn't just surviving anymore. For the first time in years, he felt a spark of hope. Maya had always believed herself to be in control of her career, her relationships, even her complicated marriage. Yet, as weeks passed and Kevin grew increasingly independent and at peace, she began to sense an unfamiliar anxiety gnawing at her resolve. It was subtle at first. Missed inside jokes at the dinner table, the way Kevin would light up when recounting weekend adventures with Emily and Lily, his eyes bright with purpose. Maya tried to ignore it, but there was no mistaking the shift. The man who once clung to the hope of mending their marriage was slipping away, and her grip on certainty was fading. One evening, after the girls had gone to bed, Maya scrolled through her phone, hesitating before opening her message thread with Derek. Their conversations had become routine, lacking the excitement they once sparked. Derek's responses grew shorter, his availability more sporadic. That night, she stared at her screen, willing him to reply, but the silence only deepened the ache in her chest. Unable to sleep, Maya finally called Derek. His voice was weary, distracted. Is something wrong? He asked. I don't know, Maya admitted, frustration simmering. You used to be there for me. Lately, I feel like I'm the only one making an effort." Derek sighed. "Look, Maya, we both knew this wasn't going to last forever. I like you, but I'm not looking for anything serious. Maybe it's time to take a step back." His words stung. Maya hung up, a wave of rejection washing over her. For the first time, she felt utterly adrift, caught between a husband who no longer needed her and a lover who saw her as expendable. The next morning, Maya watched Kevin at breakfast, his demeanor calm and content. He chatted easily with the girls about their upcoming plans with Sarah and Mia. Maya's heart twisted as she realized she was no longer the center of Kevin's universe. That evening, after Kevin put the girls to bed, Maya found him in the garage, organizing camping gear. She hesitated in the doorway, struggling to find the right words. "Kevin," she started quietly, "can we talk?" He looked up, his expression patient but guarded. "Of course." Maya swallowed. "I know things have changed. I thought the open marriage would bring us closer, or at least help me figure out what I wanted. But I feel like I've lost you." Kevin leaned back against the workbench, arms crossed. "Maya, you didn't lose me. You let me go." She blinked, stung by his honesty. "I didn't mean to—" "I know," Kevin interrupted gently, "but actions have consequences. I tried to save what we had, but I can't carry this marriage alone." Maya's voice trembled. "Do you hate me?" He shook his head. "Number. But I've learned to set boundaries for myself. I deserve happiness too. I hope you find what you're looking for, Maya. Truly." Tears welled in her eyes as she nodded silently, retreating to the quiet of her room. The house felt larger, emptier than ever. Later that night, Maya lay awake, replaying the choices that brought her here. She understood, finally, that freedom without connection was just another form of loneliness. Kevin, once her anchor, had let go, and Maya was left to face the consequences of her own making. As winter crept in, Kevin's weekends became synonymous with laughter and adventure. The shared outings with Sarah and her daughter Mia evolved from casual gatherings into something resembling a new family. Comfortable, unforced, and surprisingly healing. One crisp Saturday, the group embarked on a day trip to the mountains. Sarah's SUV was packed with sleds and picnic baskets, while the girls chattered excitedly in the backseat, comparing their favorite winter snacks and planning snowball ambushes. The drive up was filled with music and easy conversation, the kind Kevin hadn't realized he'd been missing for years. At the mountain, the world was blanketed in fresh snow. Kevin and Sarah watched the girls tumble through drifts, build snowmen, and race down hills, their laughter echoing across the silent pines. For a moment, Kevin allowed himself to simply exist in the present, his worries and regrets melting into the snowy landscape. During lunch, Sarah sat beside him on a log, her gloved hand finding his beneath the picnic blanket. "You seem lighter these days," she said, a soft smile playing on her lips. Kevin glanced at her, gratitude and vulnerability flickering in his eyes. "It's because of you and the girls. I forgot what it felt like to really live." Sarah squeezed his hand gently. "You deserve this. So do they." As the sun dipped lower, the two families made snow angels together. Mia and Lily ganged up on Kevin in a mock snowball war, while Emily and Sarah plotted an ambush. Sarah's laughter was infectious, the kind that lingered in the air and settled deep into Kevin's chest. That evening, back at Sarah's house, the girls sprawled on the living room rug, playing board games and sharing giggles over mugs of hot chocolate. Kevin helped Sarah tidy up the kitchen, their movements easy and familiar. When she reached for a mug above the sink, their hands brushed, sending an unexpected jolt through him. Sarah looked up, her voice barely above a whisper. "Are you scared to start again?" Kevin hesitated, then shook his head. "I was, but now not with you." She smiled, a quiet, honest kind of smile. "Good, because I want to build something real. No secrets, no half-truths, just us." Kevin nodded, relief washing over him. The past could not be rewritten, but the future was unwritten. And, for the first time in a long while, he looked forward to every page. As he left that night, Emily hugged him tightly. "Dad, I hope we can do this again." "We will, sweetheart," he promised. "As often as you want." Driving home under a sky full of stars, Kevin felt a sense of peace settle over him. In the rearview mirror, his daughters' contented faces glowed softly. He realized that happiness wasn't something lost in the wreckage of his old life. It was something he could build anew, piece by gentle piece, with those who truly mattered. Despite the outward calm, a complex storm brewed beneath the surface of Kevin's new life. The more his heart opened to Sarah and their blended weekends, the more Maya's absence became a silent chasm in his family's daily rhythm. For Emily and Lily, there were questions and whispers. For Kevin, there were doubts and memories, some tender, some raw. Even as new routines blossomed, the shadow of unfinished business loomed large. One evening, after another joyful weekend with Sarah and the girls, Kevin returned to a quiet home. Maya was waiting in the kitchen, her posture tense and her eyes rimmed with fatigue. It had been weeks since they'd had a real conversation. Now, the distance between them felt like a physical thing, heavy and unyielding. Maya's voice was barely more than a whisper. "Kevin, can we talk?" He nodded warily, setting down his keys. "Sure, what's on your mind?" She looked away, searching for words. "I see how happy you are with Sarah. The girls talk about her all the time. I never thought I'd be jealous, but—" Kevin waited, patient but guarded. "I'm scared," Maya admitted at last. "Not just of losing you, but of losing myself. I thought freedom would fix everything, but it just made me feel invisible." He took a seat, feeling old wounds reopen. "We've both changed, Maya. I'm not the man I was, and you're not the woman I married. Maybe that's part of life." Tears filled her eyes. "I wish I could turn back time. I wish I'd fought for us instead of running from my own loneliness." Kevin sighed, empathy and weariness mingling. "We can't undo the past, but we owe it to the girls and to ourselves to be honest about what comes next." Maya's gaze dropped. "Do you love her?" Kevin hesitated, then nodded. "I think I could. She makes me feel seen, respected. And the girls, they adore her." A long silence stretched between them. At last, Maya spoke again. "If I said I wanted to really try to make things work, would you give us another chance?" Kevin looked at her, the pain of years gone by reflected in both their faces. "Maya, I'll always care about you. You're the mother of my children, and you'll always be part of my life. But what we had, it's different now. I can't go back. Neither of us can." Maya nodded slowly, her tears falling freely. "Then what happens to us?" He spoke softly, but with certainty. "We move forward, as parents. We put Emily and Lily first. We build something new, even if it's apart." That night, after Maya retreated to her room, Kevin sat alone in the living room, surrounded by echoes of the life he'd built and lost. He reflected on the hard-won lessons. Love was not possession. Happiness could not be forced. True connection required courage, honesty, and letting go of what no longer served them both. The next day, Kevin and Maya sat with their daughters at breakfast. For the first time in months, they spoke openly about the changes in their family. Emily and Lily asked hard questions. Their parents answered with honesty and reassurance, promising love and support no matter what. It was a painful, necessary step one that marked the beginning of a new chapter for all of them. As spring approached, the healing continued slow, imperfect, but real. Kevin kept building his new life with Sarah, while Maya began her own journey of rediscovery. And through it all, their daughters learned that even in the wake of heartbreak, family could still mean hope, honesty, and unconditional love. For weeks after their honest conversation, the house settled into a strange calm. Kevin and Maya became partners in parenting, their roles clearly defined but no longer intertwined. They moved through routines with mutual respect, but the intimacy was gone, replaced by a quiet professionalism. If anything, their new civility made the absence of love more obvious. But beneath the surface, both prepared for the next unavoidable step. One morning, Kevin sat in his home office with a thick folder open before him, legal documents, financial records, and a detailed log of family routines. He'd followed Angela's advice, documenting everything, safeguarding his daughter's interests, preparing for the possibility of a custody battle he never wanted but could no longer avoid. Sarah, too, became a pillar of strength. Their relationship, once hesitant, grew more rooted and sincere. Kevin admired her honesty, her devotion to Mia, and the compassion she extended to Emily and Lily. For the first time, he felt what partnership could truly mean. Two people facing life's difficulties together, not apart. Meanwhile, Maya grew restless. She tried filling her days with new projects at work, late-night social events, even a brief, ill-fated attempt to rekindle things with Derek, only to realize that what she sought was not in any man or any distraction, but in herself. She started therapy, began journaling, and spent more intentional time with Emily and Lily. The girls, perceptive as ever, sensed the change. With Maya more present and engaged, some of the tension in the home lifted, but the family's foundation had irrevocably shifted. One rainy evening, after the girls had gone to bed, Kevin and Maya found themselves together in the kitchen, listening to thunder roll beyond the windows. It was Maya who finally broke the silence. "Kevin, I've been thinking a lot about us, about what comes next. We can't keep living in limbo, pretending everything's fine for the girls. They're smarter than we give them credit for." Kevin nodded, his voice low. "I know. I've been working with Angela, getting everything ready. It's not what I wanted, but we need a real plan." She met his gaze, her eyes clear for the first time in years. "So do I. I talked to my lawyer too. Maybe it's time to do this the right way. To end it on our terms, not out of anger, but out of respect for what we once had and what we still owe our girls." The conversation stretched into the night. They spoke about custody arrangements, the family home, co-parenting schedules, finances, and the emotional needs of Emily and Lily. There were tears and moments of laughter, memories resurfacing, regrets voiced, apologies exchanged. When they finished, a strange sense of relief swept through them both. The fear of change, the dread of legal battles both seemed smaller now, faced together with maturity and empathy. In the days that followed, Kevin and Maya told the girls about the coming changes. They explained with honesty and compassion, answering every question, holding their daughters through tears and uncertainty. Emily and Lily, though saddened, drew comfort from the unity their parents displayed even in separation. By the time the papers were signed, Maya had found a small apartment nearby. She decorated it with the girls, letting them pick out colors for their rooms. Kevin retained the family home, but welcomed Maya in for birthdays and holidays, determined to keep some sense of tradition alive. On the first night after the move, Kevin walked the quiet halls of the house, memories flickering in every room, first steps, holiday mornings, late-night laughter. He grieved what was lost, but also felt hope for what lay ahead. That weekend, Sarah and Mia joined Kevin and his daughters for dinner in the new configuration. They ate on the porch, watched fireflies, and told stories late into the night. For the first time in a long time, Kevin saw the possibility of a different kind of happiness, one not built on old wounds, but on fresh beginnings and the hard, honest work of building something real. The turning point wasn't a moment of victory or defeat. It was a quiet acceptance, a letting go, a new courage, a promise to himself and his children to choose love, even when it meant starting over. The transition to co-parenting brought new routines, unfamiliar but not unwelcome. The dust of legal proceedings had finally settled, leaving in its wake a quieter, more orderly household. Kevin felt a steady resolve hardening within him, a mixture of relief, pride, and a tinge of bittersweet nostalgia. He was no longer just surviving. He was forging a new chapter for himself and his daughters, on his own terms. The final court hearing arrived on a bright spring morning. Kevin, flanked by Angela, entered the wood-paneled courtroom, every document in order, and every moment with his daughters documented with care. Maya sat at the other end of the room with her lawyer, her face unreadable, her posture still and restrained. The judge's questions were pointed but fair, probing both parents about their involvement in the girls' lives. Kevin spoke honestly about his efforts to maintain stability, the camping trips, the homework help, the birthday parties. Angela presented evidence of his consistent presence photos, school reports, a meticulous calendar of shared custody proposals. Maya, though visibly anxious, acknowledged that Kevin had indeed stepped up in ways she had not anticipated. After a tense hour, the judge rendered a decision: joint legal custody, but primary physical custody to Kevin. Given his role as the girl's emotional anchor and daily caregiver, Maya would have generous visitation, with encouragement to remain involved. There were no angry outbursts, just a wave of silent acceptance. For the first time in months, Kevin saw a quiet respect in Maya's eyes, gratitude, even that their children would remain at the heart of both their lives. Back home, the girls greeted him with hugs and triumphant grins. Kevin lifted them into his arms, his heart brimming with hope and a long-missed sense of security. He called Sarah, voice trembling with emotion. "We did it," he whispered, and Sarah's voice, warm and genuine, replied, "You're exactly where you're meant to be." In the weeks that followed, Kevin and Maya navigated their new roles with surprising ease. Maya made a point to attend soccer games and school events. The girls thrived, buoyed by their parents' commitment to kindness and respect, if not to one another. Sarah and Mia became fixtures in their lives, weekend cookouts, movie nights, and family hikes blending seamlessly with old traditions. Emily and Lily grew close to Mia, the laughter of all three children filling Kevin's home with the joyful chaos he had once feared he would lose. One evening, as he tucked his daughters into bed, Emily looked up with sleepy eyes and asked, "Are you happy now, Dad?" Kevin smiled gently, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. "I am, sweetheart. I really am." He realized then that his victory wasn't just a legal one. It was the reclamation of his dignity, his peace, and his ability to choose hope over bitterness. It was the proof that even after betrayal and heartbreak, life could be beautiful again. Maya, for her part, began to find her own strength. Therapy helped her rediscover passions and forge new friendships. She reached out to the girls more often, and though their time together was shorter, it became richer, full of honest conversation and sincere effort. Kevin watched this growth with respect. He knew forgiveness would never be easy, but it was essential not just for Maya, but for himself. He wanted the girls to witness what resilience and true maturity looked like. That summer, the entire blended family, Kevin, his daughters, Sarah, Mia, and even Maya, spent a long weekend at a lakeside cabin. They swam, grilled burgers, told stories by the fire. On the last night, as the children caught fireflies in mason jars, Maya sat beside Kevin on the porch. The silence between them, now comfortable, even companionable. "I'm glad we figured it out," Maya admitted softly. Kevin nodded, smiling at the children's laughter in the twilight. "Me too." It was a sweet victory, not over Maya, but over adversity itself, a testament to what could be rebuilt, not just lost. When two people chose their children's happiness above pride or regret, summer unfolded gently, wrapping Kevin and his daughters in a rhythm of discovery and renewal. The pain of the past year no longer dictated every moment instead. The household hummed with new energy. Kevin was determined not just to move on, but to actively build the kind of life he'd once thought impossible after heartbreak. Every weekend was a new adventure. Road trips along wildflower-lined highways, lazy mornings making pancakes in their sunny kitchen, and evenings spent watching thunderstorms from the safety of the porch. The girls nestled beside him. There were times of struggle, of course, nights when Emily missed her mother or Lily grew quiet and withdrawn. Kevin never ignored these moments. He listened, he comforted, and he let his daughters see his own vulnerability, teaching them that real strength was never about hiding pain, but about facing it with honesty. Sarah and Mia became more than weekend guests. They became family. Their presence brought warmth and laughter, weaving a new tapestry from the threads of two once broken homes. The girls invented elaborate games together, hosted family talent shows, and sometimes simply sprawled in the grass, sharing secrets under the stars. One Saturday, Kevin took them all camping in the mountains. By the fire, as Sarah and the girls toasted marshmallows, he told stories from his own childhood tales he'd nearly forgotten. Stories he now realized were the foundation of who he wanted to be as a father. That night, lying awake beneath the canvas of their tent, Kevin watched Sarah sleeping peacefully and felt a quiet sense of fulfillment he'd never known before. Back in the city, Maya's life took on a different shape. Her apartment, at first sparse and unfamiliar, slowly became a home. She hung photos of Emily and Lily on every wall, learned to cook their favorite meals, and bit by bit let go of old resentments. She volunteered at the girls' school, joined a book club, and even started painting again, rediscovering passions that had lain dormant through years of marital struggle. As the months passed, Maya and Kevin grew into the rare kind of friends who could share coffee at a soccer game, cheer for their children, and reminisce without bitterness. Their conversations, once full of accusation and regret, now revolved around parenting strategies, holiday plans, and the hopes they held for their daughters' futures. For Emily and Lily, this new normal was not without grief. But as autumn arrived, they found comfort in its stability. They saw their parents learning, growing, forgiving. They witnessed the power of second chances not only for their family, but for themselves. On the first day of school, the entire group, Kevin, Sarah, Maya, and all three girls walked hand in hand through the gates. A teacher, surprised to see such a gathering, asked, "Are you all together?" Emily grinned. "We're a different kind of family, but yes, we're together." That afternoon, Kevin reflected on how far they'd all come. The journey had been painful and unpredictable. But what mattered was not the path behind, but the one that stretched ahead, bright, hopeful, and full of possibility. He knew there would always be challenges. But now, armed with hard-earned wisdom, Kevin was ready. He was no longer patching up a broken past. He was, at last, building a beautiful future. Autumn swept through the city with golden leaves and a gentle chill, marking the anniversary of Kevin and Maya's separation. What once felt like a life unraveling now resembled the patient work of weaving something new, thread by deliberate thread. Yet as the holidays approached, the reality of their choices and the cost of newfound freedom came into sharper focus. Maya, alone in her apartment one blustery evening, sat before a half-finished painting. Her brushes, once an extension of her spirit, felt heavy in her hand. She stared at a family photo of happier times and realized just how profound the distance between past and present had grown. Freedom, she'd discovered, was not a cure for loneliness. It was a responsibility, a daily negotiation with regret and the haunting possibility of what might have been. She missed the little things, Emily's sleepy morning hugs, the chaos of family breakfasts, even the way Kevin would quietly fix a broken appliance or leave notes for the girls in their lunchboxes. In chasing excitement and independence, Maya had found space, but at the price of comfort and familiarity. She saw her daughters regularly, but always as a guest in their lives, not the anchor she once was. Kevin, too, felt the weight of his new life. Most days were bright, filled with laughter, growth, and connection. Yet some evenings, after the house grew quiet, he wondered if the peace he'd built was truly enough to fill the void left by the collapse of his family's old structure. He missed the feeling of coming home to one shared vision, the sense that no matter what storms raged outside, there was always shelter together. Thanksgiving arrived, and with it, a test of their evolving family dynamic. Kevin invited Maya to join the group at his home, wanting the girls to see that forgiveness and inclusion mattered more than old wounds. Sarah and Mia prepared extra dishes, and laughter echoed through the house as three girls ran circles around the kitchen. But even amid celebration, both Kevin and Maya felt the tension, a bittersweet reminder that something once effortless now required conscious effort and courage. After dinner, as the others cleaned up, Maya lingered at the table, sipping tea. Kevin sat across from her, silent for a long moment before speaking. "Are you happy, Maya?" She hesitated, her eyes moist with honesty. "Some days I am. Other days, I wonder what happiness is supposed to look like now." Kevin nodded, understanding more than he could say. "I think we both paid a price, but I hope we paid it for the right reasons." Maya managed a small, real smile. Maybe freedom isn't about escaping each other, Maybe it's about forgiving ourselves and finding peace with the choices we've made." They sat quietly, gratitude mingling with grief. Emily and Lily soon joined them, tugging Maya away to see their new art project. Kevin watched them, feeling a complex ache, pride, sorrow, and a profound acceptance of life's imperfection. In the months that followed, both parents leaned into the reality they had chosen. Maya poured her heart into her art, eventually showcasing her work at a local gallery. She invited Kevin, Sarah, and all three girls to the opening night. For the first time, she felt seen not as a mother, wife, or ex-spouse, but as Maya, a woman defined by more than her past. Kevin, meanwhile, embraced his new family with Sarah and the girls, savoring simple joys, shared books, Sunday pancakes, winter hikes. Each night, as he tucked Emily and Lily into bed, he whispered the same promise: "No matter how life changes, you are always loved." By the year's end, both Kevin and Maya understood that freedom was never free. It required bravery, humility, and a willingness to live with unanswered questions. But in the end, the price they paid gave them something deeper, a chance to grow, to heal, and to offer their children a family shaped not by perfection, but by resilience, forgiveness, and love. Seasons shifted, and with them a new era quietly blossomed for Kevin, Sarah, and their growing patchwork family. What began as fragile hope had matured into a daily rhythm, steady, loving, and surprisingly simple. In the gentle embrace of their rebuilt home, happiness was no longer a fleeting visitor, but a familiar presence woven into every meal, every trip, every night of laughter by the campfire. Kevin, once defined by uncertainty and heartbreak, now moved with quiet confidence. He found joy in life's smallest details, preparing pancakes with the girls on sleepy Sunday mornings, helping Sarah plant a new vegetable garden, listening to the giggles that floated down the hallway long after bedtime. The ghosts of the past, painful lingering, no longer haunted the present, but had become gentle reminders of how far they had come. Sarah's warmth and resilience became the glue binding them all together. Mia, once shy and guarded, grew bold and bright, encouraged by Emily and Lily's open-hearted acceptance. The girls called each other sisters, sharing secrets under the old maple in the backyard, inventing games that stretched for hours in the summer twilight. Vacations were no longer an escape, but a celebration. The whole family would pile into the RV, winding through mountain passes or following the coast, windows down, music and laughter mixing with the rush of the wind. There were mishaps and quarrels, of course, but even these became cherished family stories, retold with affection and inside jokes. At school, teachers and neighbors often remarked on the girls' transformation. Emily's quiet confidence, Lily's newfound curiosity, Mia's artistic flair all thrived in the safe, loving environment Sarah and Kevin provided. The past's shadows faded with each new memory, each ordinary miracle of a life healed and whole. Holidays, once a source of tension and uncertainty, were now joyful reunions. Maya, invited without hesitation, joined for birthdays, Thanksgiving, and even quiet Saturday barbecues. There was a gentle understanding, a shared commitment to the children, and gratitude for the peace they had found apart, yet together. One autumn evening, Kevin stood in the doorway, watching Sarah read to the three girls, their heads close together under a patchwork quilt. He felt a fullness he could barely name, not the giddy rush of new love, but the deep-rooted peace of a life earned, brick by brick, after the storm. He understood, finally, that happiness could be lost and found again, often in unexpected forms, in Sarah's hand, in his daughter's laughter, in the ordinary days that now shimmered with meaning. It was a happiness reclaimed, not as a reward for suffering, but as a promise kept for himself, for those he loved, and for the family they'd built from the ashes of their old lives. As the years slipped quietly by, Kevin found himself returning, time and again, to the quiet moments when life had felt most fragile. In the hush of early morning, with coffee warming his hands and sunlight spilling across the kitchen table, he would watch Sarah and the girls move through their gentle routines, a family rebuilt not by chance, but by choice and perseverance. One evening, after another ordinary day, a school pickup, a backyard soccer match, a homemade dinner, Kevin lingered alone on the porch, letting the cool breeze and the sounds of laughter inside settle his heart. It was here, in the lingering twilight, that he allowed himself to truly look back to the pain, the anger, the nights spent awake questioning every decision. He thought of Maya, of the beautiful beginnings and the heartbreak that followed. He remembered the bitterness of betrayal and the temptation to let that pain define him. But over time, through struggle and humility, he had learned that true happiness was not the absence of suffering, but the presence of courage to forgive, to love, and to hope again. Sometimes, Emily or Lily would curl up beside him and ask about the old days. Kevin never hid the truth. He spoke gently of loyalty and trust, of mistakes and forgiveness, of how easy it was to lose sight of what mattered most. Family, he would say, is built every day not just by blood, but by every act of kindness and honesty we share. He told them that love, real love, is less about grand gestures and more about the small choices, listening with patience, apologizing when you're wrong, standing by each other even when it's hard. He reminded them that respect and loyalty are precious, never to be taken for granted, and that the real measure of happiness is found in how we give to others, not just what we receive. Kevin shared openly about his mistakes, his regrets, and the grace he found in learning to let go. He wanted his daughters to understand that forgiveness of others and of oneself is not a weakness, but a gift and a source of freedom. On one especially peaceful night, with the family gathered together, Sarah and Maya chatting amiably, the girls playing cards by the fire, Kevin finally understood the lesson life had been teaching him all along. Happiness is not something we chase or win. It is something we create, day after day, by showing up for those we love, with humility, sincerity, and unwavering care. As the story of their lives moved quietly forward, Kevin found a deep gratitude for every trial, every misstep, every opportunity to begin again. He had built, from the ruins of heartbreak, a family stronger and more beautiful than he could have ever imagined. And as the stars bloomed above their home, he whispered a silent promise to himself: to live each day with courage, to love without fear, and to trust that whatever storms may come true, happiness always begins with the choices we make and the hearts we keep open.